You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona.
Hi, welcome to Question Reality. I'm Priscilla Leona, producer and host, and we are broadcasting live from Los Angeles, California, to provide you with entertainment industry career advice. Whether you're considering a career in show business or you just need tips to elevate your career, this show is for you. Now, some of the guests on our show include Oscar nominees, Emmy, Grammy, Tony Award winners, reality stars, and just a really diverse range of show business professionals. From film, television, music, and radio, we have got you covered. Now, that was tacky. Covered. I don't know where that came from. I'm not even left-handed. I just felt like doing it. I don't know why. Something's wrong with me today. Archive pages. That is where, if you missed any of our past episodes, you would go to watch any of the guests. And you can see them on my YouTube channel at Priscilla Leona, my Facebook pages at Priscilla Leona or Question Reality Radio Show. The website is questionrealityradioshow.com. And you can also pull them up on LinkedIn, X, and TikTok. Just a real quick thing. I say it every week, but we just had this conversation. I had a couple of my friends, film producers, in from Chicago this week, and we were talking about branding. And they were saying the same exact thing. When you're starting your career out, please try to think about branding. It's best to just keep your name, but if it's a film, you can always add that, or a book, you can add that. But if it is your social media pages, please make sure, and your website, please make sure it's your name, because it's very important when people are trying to find you. People have 10-second attention spans now. We have been depleted of our intensity of concentration due to various factors in the environment. I don't know. Actually, this is just my theory. But try to keep... Look, now I've lost my concentration. Well, that's just an advertisement. No, but keep it your branding, your name, and then a film, book cover you can extend. Now, favor, if you enjoy our show and any of the guests on our show, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these fabulous, fantastic guests. And when we see you, because I have an assistant that looks for people who are new subscribers or new to our social media pages, and we will reciprocate. A lot of people think, okay, great, thanks for subscribing, but they don't reciprocate. And I just think that's very important, very important. And they notice it, especially new people to social media. If they go, oh, I followed, say, a star, and the star follows them back, well, they're going to be a fan forever. Okay, booked. Let's see how you can get booked. If you are working in the entertainment industry and you want to appear on our show, what you can do is go to the website, questionrealityradioshow.com, and there is the contact page, and it just name, telephone number, email, website, and then you are on the Lucille Ball, the I Love Lucy assembly line for being vetted. And that's just how it works with anything. But we will get back to you either way, but hopefully you will appear on our show in the future. Now, that is my condensed intro. Our regular subscribers are probably wondering what the heck happened to that 3-page show introduction that she used to do. Well, I have worked hard. I hate to edit my own verbiage because, I just love to write. I don't want to say I'm a very good writer, but I'm a very terse, concise writer, except when it comes to this show, and I feel like I should get a lot in there. But I have relinquished control. I'm relinquishing as I go in life, and that was one of the things. Now, as everybody who is who's tuned in to my social media knows, we have an incredible guest on the show. This woman, I swear, I wish I could clone her. I've told her this so many times. I don't know if she believes me, but it's so true. I would pluck my right eye out if she didn't believe me. That's my left, my right. But she's just a woman that, my God, there's nothing she can't do. And people who know her know this to be true. And you can see her laurels and accolades on imdb.com. Her name is Marilu Belli. And yeah, look at that little cutie right there. We're a little pin on. That's so cute. Got her hair did. Look at her. Oh, she's adorable. She has so much energy. She's just a phenomenal guest to have on your show. So if you want to reach out to her, I'm sure she'd be more than happy to have her peeps possibly look into that. Let's see more pictures, Albert. There she is. That looks like she's at the Emmys there with her cute little blue dress. Oh my gosh, I have a dress just like that. Yeah, so that is her at the Emmys. And let's see what else we got. What else we got? Oh, yes. Now, see, this is something I pulled from one of the shows she's working on now as director, the Miss Pat show. And oh God, I love that outfit she has on. And and there's another picture I pulled. I thought that included more of the cast. I thought that was a good picture to include. And this is one of the episodes that she was nominated for. And I just thought that I would include that. And I decided to print back and front on paper. So now I'm completely discombobulated as to where the heck my verbiage was. But okay, this one I believe. So she was recently nominated. Marilu Belli was recently nominated for her second Primetime Emmy for comedy directing. She was the 2023 nominee for Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Directing for a Comedy Series, The Miss Pat Show. And these are scenes from The Miss Pat Show. And this is the episode that she was nominated for. It's called Don't Touch My Hair. I can relate to that. I was saying that every 5 minutes in the 80s. Don't be touching my hair. Don't. All right. And she was also the 2022 nominee for a Primetime Outstanding Directing for a Comedy Series, again for the Miss Pat Show, for the episode entitled Baby Daddy Groundhog Day. Now that was that other picture. Albert, can you go back to yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, no, the one with the two guys sitting on the couch. Two guys sitting on the couch. There you go. There it is. And she also received another Emmy in 2022 in the children's programming category. She has been directing television for over 30 years in many genres, from sitcoms to procedurals, that's a hard one, and documentaries. And she also is I can attest to this, watching her in action, teach a class, a comedy sitcom class back in the day. But through her teaching, she supports many of the vibrant diversity programs, including DGA, ABC, Disney, CBS, Sony, AFI's Directing Workshop for Women, NBC Launch, and Warner Brothers Directing Workshop, mentoring the next generation of directors. So if you are an aspiring director, I would say check out these programs. They seem to be what's going to take you from level A to level B. She's also the co-author of 4 books. As if the woman, she'll breathe and then say, okay, I got to write a book. And then she'll hold her breath, and then she comes back. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But 4 books. My God. Okay. The first one is the new Sitcom Career Book. So that is a must for people that are aspiring to be sitcom actors. I got an autographed copy back in the day, and I read that book through, and I said, wow, it's very important if you're pursuing a career as an actor. So check that out. Again, the new Sitcom Career Book. Also, she did not leave out the little kiddies. She has a book called Acting for Young Actors, Perform, Acting for the Screen, and Directors Tell the Story. You got to get one of these books. One of these definitely is something that you need in your career. I would get all of them. I mean, come on now, hit the hubby up for some money, steal the wallet in the night, charge the card, and get the bucks, is what I say. Now, Marilu is an icon member of the Alliance of Women Directors and advisory board member of Women in Media. She's also an advisor for Film Fatales and a long time, here we go, where I printed on the darn page. I swear to God, I'll never do that again. Okay, wait a minute. Page 4. People tuning in the first time are like, what a nut. I'm not normally like this. I wish I never would have done that. Hold on. 1, 2. Marilu's like, I will never come on the show. Here we go. Member of the Women in Film, as well as one of the governors at the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. You listen to all of this and you say, I don't think I have enough life left in me to do all of this. But she does it, and she's done it. And if she can do it, if you have the willpower and the inspiration to do it, you can do it too. So there you go. Now, I thought we'd do something a little bit different today, because a lot of people, when they read she was coming on the show, they were asking, people who were not in the entertainment industry, of course, were asking this, and I don't want to not include them with their questions. They were asking, what does a director do on a sitcom? And I thought, this is a perfect opportunity to just tell a little bit about the job description of a director and just a little bit about that particular career, because you might be thinking of changing careers. You might be an actor and think, I want to be a director, but you don't know every single thing about it. Or you could be an accountant and say, hell, if Marilu could be a director, I'm going to be a director. Let's see. All right, let's start out with the job description of a director. And I asked Marilu to correct me if any of this is wrong. Okay. Directors oversee the production of stage plays, film, television, and commercial. This involves managing a cast of actors, set designers, costume department, technical crew, and camera and sound crews in the case of film and television. Directors then produce a finished product either based on their own vision or the needs of the client. And then you think, well, who are the clients? So we're going to ask Marilu, who are the clients? All right. Responsibilities, if you choose to be a director. All right. A director is responsible for organizing and presiding over auditions, ensuring a clear production schedule, including rehearsals and performances, coordinating cast and crew, coordinating a creative team, which includes writers, set designers, and costume department, providing hands-on feedback to cast and crew, organizing funding through producers, coordinating publicity. And the skills, Albert, why don't we show Marilu while we're reading a description of her job? That would be good. There she is. Oh, she's so cute. Okay, skills include, now the skills that you have to have. Now, when I was reading this, I thought, yes, this ideally would be exactly what you want to have. But I have friends that have become very successful directors on film and in television who did not have all of these skills. So don't think, if I don't have one of these, it's not going to happen for me, because there's a lot of factors based on that. Okay. A director's skills should include good interpersonal and managerial skills. Well, yes. An eye for the big picture and fine details. Well, I would say yes to that. Extensive knowledge of the technical aspects of a production, camera work, lighting, sets, etc. I would say yes to that. Writing skills for analyzing and editing scripts. I would say yes to that. Actually, I don't think this is the page which I was thinking of. I think that was the education I was thinking of. Hold on, I've printed again on the wrong pages and I've lost my third page. Oh, hold on, I will never do this again. Okay, yes. So wait, skills. Yes, I would agree with all of them. It's the qualifications that I feel like don't get too stuck on. Okay, so the a director will need at least a bachelor's degree in a theater related film and sometimes a post-secondary education. Several years of experience as a director or in theater roles is often expected. Theater, film studios, and television studios will vary greatly in their requirements, but a degree and several years of experience is usually the standard. Hiring will also depend on the portfolio of past work. So we're going to have to ask Marilu to really tell us if this is all applicable, because as I said, I've run into people who've not had a bachelor's degree or any degree at all, and they ended up becoming fantastic directors. So we'll ask her about that. Lastly, salary. Now, again, I have no idea. I had to search for this. I don't know if this is correct now, and it might be old information, but it did say January 2024. So salaries for directors range between $105,000 and $176,000, with the median being $137,000. Factors impacting the salary you receive as a director include degrees, apprenticeship certificate, associate or bachelor's, master's degree, the location of where you are a director, previous film credits, reporting structure, seniority of the producer you report to, and a number of direct reports. And lastly, the level of performance exceeding expectations. So that is what we have as far as the description of the director. And the best way to get to the nitty gritty about that is to talk to an actual famous director, in my opinion, a very successful, accredited producer, Miss Marilu Belli. Bring Marilu Belli. Where is she? So what did you think of that? Was all of that, what did you feel was right?
Because it was trying to be so broad and include theater, television, film, and commercials, it kind of delved into each of them. For instance, we rarely call the person we're working for in television or film or theater the client, but in commercials, we always do. McDonald's, the client. But I would say it was pretty accurate. I think the only thing that was missing, and it's a part of my job I love so much in terms of responsibilities, is my main job is being a storyteller. And in terms of the skill set I had to have to be good at that, I've been a lifelong reader. I'm a lifelong watcher of television and film. And therefore, so much of my knowledge comes from that sort of sometimes passive, but sometimes active concentration. I will tell you that not everybody goes to school and has a bachelor's degree. There's a lot of people coming up in at least the television industry through if they prove themselves in one job. I know people who've moved up from director from being a location manager who finds the locations. I know someone who was head of a hair department, big producer director. I know a lot of people who've been editors or assistant directors. So any way you can gain the knowledge of what the job entails, and then more importantly, the interpersonal skills to get someone to trust that you know how to do that job. Now, a lot of people come up through film school and they graduate with a couple, hopefully many short films that then become their calling card. I just read my agents asked me to watch one today that just won, I think, the DGA Student Film Award and has been nominated for another big award. And it was sensational. So I'm going to take this young woman director under my under my wing and try to help her. So I do a lot of advocacy now, but basically that was pretty accurate and yeah, it was really quite one. I want to say that the two people that were sitting on the couch, Vince Swan and the man playing his biological father, Leland James. I just want you to tell them who those actors were. Leland James is a local hire in Atlanta, and the episode for which I was nominated for my first Primetime Emmy. I have two that are local Emmys already, but for my first Primetime Emmy, the episode would not have been as good without him. He was a sensational guest star on the show. And that means he came in for one episode and just nailed it. And Vince Swan plays the older brother, and he's a brilliant actor. He's also a go-to person that I will say, we don't always do this because we have such a great writing team on the show. But if there's something that Vince pitches for his character, it'll get listened to because he's very cognizant of not just writing for his character, but writing to, remember I said being a storyteller, writing to what the story is about. So that was a great description. Thank you for doing that, because people ask me, and it takes a pain in the neck to tell them. And especially the one between a producer and a director, I'm going, well, producers raise money, and in television, they usually are writing the scripts. But I am basically a person who takes someone else's work as a writer, interprets it, and tells the story, translating all the things at my disposal, like hair, makeup, costumes, sets, locations, camera angles, sound, VFX. So basically, it's a big job, a lot of responsibility, and I do say we get paid handsomely to do it. But it comes with a lot of responsibility, and people skills are probably the most essential.
It does seem very, very, very intense. But you have a personality, and we're going to talk about that. What do you feel are the criteria for being able to handle the various jobs that you handle on the set as a director? And one of them, I would imagine, has to be you can't be temperamental and have a bombastic attitude. You really have to be calm. What would you say are three of the personality, not skill, but personality criteria to be a television director? And does
be kind, be kind, be empathetic, and have a good and be concise and precise when speaking, because there's no wasted time in television. You have to know what you want, go for it, get it done, and move on to the next thing.
Or you're not going to get that paycheck. Now, the third edition of your book, and we're going to go back and forth with questions for her, but I wanted to talk about the third edition of your book, Directors Tell the Story. So, wait, before I do that, I want to go back to the Miss Pat show, because a lot for people who don't know what the premise of the show is and why would we watch it, tell us the premise of the show and why would we tune into the Miss Pat show if we've never watched it?
Well, first of all, it's like if you liked All in the Family or thought it was a groundbreaking show, Miss Pat is the All in the Family of present day.
Oh.
The late Norman Lear was a huge fan of the show and a friend of Miss Pat. So Miss Pat has a very, very unique background, and it's spoken about quite a bit on the show. She had two children by the guy Leland Jones, who was sitting on the sofa there, who was basically a pedophile. She was a drug dealer. She went to jail. She got out. She was on Last Comic Standing, found a way to turn her life around. She had two more children with a wonderful mate who I think who she's still married to this day, who's very, very supportive. And she basically, has raised this family of four and lots of other strays who basically, who she supports and leads by example. She's a truth teller, and she's one of the funniest people I have ever met in my life. And also, I have to say, I have to give credit. The person who created the show with Miss Pat and serves as our showrunner was nominated for a Tony. He's Forbes 30 under 30. He's just a remarkable writer, actor, producer, and director. His name is Jordan E. Cooper, and it is his encyclopedic knowledge of sitcoms since Lucy that makes him so good at his job. And we do these live, and Jordan, on the spot will be shooting out different versions of jokes. Like, listen, I've always said that the smartest people I ever worked in the business were sitcom writers. Well, if I had to put the creme de la creme of some of the funniest sitcom writers I've ever worked with, Jordan E. Cooper is in the top 3. He's just truly, truly amazing and kind and talented. And so it was his vision and Pat's trust in him to honor her story, to be real with it, that really makes the authenticity of Miss Pat like no other show you've ever seen.
Wow. And Miss Pat, her full name is?
Patricia Williams.
Patricia Williams. Okay. Wow. That, what you described, my God, I have not watched that yet, but I am going to tune in only because the premise of the show is exactly what I'm looking for. Marilu, I have had the plight of not being able to find any good sitcoms that everybody, comedy. Didn't you tell us this in class that it's subjective, right? So what I find funny, it may not be what somebody else finds funny. So I have been searching. Now, my friend Alan Hooper, he is a cast director he's doing the new Frasier. They're redoing that. I'm sure you heard of it.
I was just going to tell you, if you want to look at a traditional new multi-camera show that just hits all the marks.
Yes.
In fact, I went as a member of the Academy. I get to go to these events called For Your Consideration. Yeah. And listen, I get invited to hundreds. I've only been to one so far, and it was for Frasier because I wanted to see what the writers were like. I wanted to see what the cast, and that cast, I don't know if you know it, but 2 are from Great Britain. 1 is from Nigeria. 1 is from Canada. I think there's somebody from Pasadena.
Yeah.
And then Kelsey, and I'm not sure where Kelsey's from. But it's a very, very eclectic cast, and so many of them are working in an American accent, even though they're not Native Americans.
Yeah. And I was saying to Alan last week, I said, Alan, I have not watched, Frasier was my absolute favorite sitcom. There's just no other sitcom. Recently, like All in the Family, The Jeffersons. I love those, but Frasier and Friends. Oh no, excuse me, not Friends. Oh, David Schwimmer's a Friends. So I better not say that. He would. Never mind, David. Okay, so I didn't mean Friends. I meant Will and Grace. Will and Grace. So I have that's a type of humor I like. And recently I have not been satisfied with the comedic choices of sitcoms. Now, of course, it's been the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. But Alan Hooper was saying last week, because he's casting the new Frasier. He was also working on Modern Family from beginning. Remember that show? Beginning to the end. And he said, Priscilla, you got to watch it because it's a completely different part. He's still the same guy, but he's now teaching at Harvard, the show. He's now teaching at Harvard, and it's a whole new cast of young actors. So he was giving us selling points of why we should watch the new Frasier. Yeah, but I'm afraid, Marilu, because I still see him as the Frasier from the Frasier show. But
he's still the same Frasier. And even I don't know if BB made a guest star appearance, but
yeah, she did.
BB's character, is so present in terms of the mother, there's the child reflects the parents,
Right.
and they've done such a good job. And here's what they've kept that was so, and Kelsey spoke to this a little bit. Frasier never used or utilized too many topical things in terms of things that would age out. And it made Frasier have a shelf life that was so long, because it's like, well, if we don't know who Santos is, because a new news cycle just throws him to, the wolves, there's different things that come up, and they steered away from that. And the new one's steering away from that too. So it's basically what's universal, what's going to appeal to the audience. So it's basically about family and relationships, and it's quite good.
Okay, I promised Alan I was going to watch it, and now you've sold me on it too. So it's going on my to-do list. One of the other, and I had asked you about this years ago, and I know your memory is like a steel trap, but I had sent you a text, and I had said, because he was casting for Call Me Kat, the show that broke the fourth wall, and I said to you, what do you think about shows that are breaking the fourth wall? Because now I've seen another one, which I can't really remember what it is now, but is that the new wave of sitcom? No.
It's used as a tool when the story warrants it. So some use it, some don't, but I would say it's not a majority by any means.
Okay.
So, but if it's a good,
I like it. I like it.
I do too.
And you're not supposed to do that in theater. And I grew up with, working in community theater.
Well,
had an anthem. Yeah. And so that's the number one rule. You don't break the fourth wall. But I heard they're doing plays now that on Broadway that they do that.
About it, Fleabag made it so accessible.
Yes.
And she started out that story as a theater piece. So, it makes sense.
Oh, she's great.
So much of my time, I'm talking about sitcoms so much, but so much of my time, in the last 10 years has been all about dramas. And I say blowing shit up. I mean, and doing big action.
That's right. You were directing on NCIS New Orleans. Well, we're going to see the scene. Yeah, what would tell me about that?
It was interesting, because I know so many people here who watch your show are starting careers and thinking, how do I do this? I had to basically do that, saying, I have this very, very respected reputation as a comedy director, but what I really would like to do is expand into being a episodic drama and procedural director. So I ended up doing NCIS New Orleans for 6 seasons. I did Bull. I did last season I did 2 episodes of True Lies, the TV series. There's lots of shows, and then Sweet Magnolias for Netflix, which is not quite as gritty in terms of the action, but beautifully constructed character development and so much heart. I mean, and possibly the happiest show I've ever worked on in my career. So that's a tribute to Cheryl J. Anderson, who created the show from the books by what we call the other Cheryl. I and getting a reputation, I didn't actually even consider going back to sitcoms until my agents and managers on a regular basis were getting that little, guys, I'm not even 5 feet tall, that little action director, So once I was known as that, they said, we think we can keep you working in both genres if now that you have established yourself. And would you look at some comedies? And I said, yeah, it would have to be the right one. And Miss Pat showed up on my doorstep, and Debbie Allen, had directed a stunningly good pilot. And then I had a meeting with Pat and Jordan, and I went, oh, this is working. And they trusted me, and I loved them from the outset. So I've been trying to balance both genres for the last since Pat started, and we just finished our 4th season. The 4th season starts premiering in May.
4th
of Miss Pat.
season. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing for you to be able to go back and forth. I mean, has there ever been a time when you were doing a comedy, and then the next day you had to go to do you had to go to direct a drama, or it doesn't happen like that?
Yeah, but I love that. I love
Mm.
that. I love, people go, "Do you wanna do films?" And I go, doing a film takes a huge amount of development,
Oh
which
yeah.
and a amount of time to develop it and sell it, and I love the fast pace and the
Me-
variety in television. So, um, I have been sticking in this field, and I love it, and because I love the variety.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
did some new responsibilities, one of the exec producers of, co-EPs of Miss Pat, and that's been a wonderful learning experience. But basically, I love having a taste of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, because your mind is so active. How could you not? I mean, you couldn't just sit there and be content with one thing. That's just not your nature, who you are. And a lot of it comes down when you're deciding a career. There are many factors you have to think about, but one of them is, and a lot of people don't think about this, what is your personality? What characteristic traits do you have that are going to fit complementary wise into that particular field or world? And a lot of people don't think about it. And then when you get into an intense discussion, you have to think, well, you'd love to be a sitcom director or a theater director or a film director, but your personality, you're very hot tempered, you're quick to anger. And so, no matter what you do, I don't feel that you are suited for that particular field, but they could want it more than anything. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but,
It
wanting it and
happens.
having but you're right, you have to have the right personality, and not that that personality is a niche that's big. It's very broad. In fact,
Yeah.
one of the, things that Beth and I love about Directors Tell the Story, and it's one of the most, one of the most, uh, fun parts of the book that people sometimes literally before they buy it at Barnes& and Noble, they will we have lists of people, directors, and how they got their first job, and they are as varied and different from director to director. So it's lovely that directors beginnings are all um,
Diverse and
come in all
eclectic.
shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And also, but I will tell you thing that is universal. I once had a young director, say to me, "I don't like answering questions." And I wanted to say to them, I was being very kind. Um, I want to say, "You're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You will not be a director. A director answers questions all day long.
Right.
That's and makes decisions
Yeah.
all day long."
You
Yeah, so
have to. You have to. My
but that's
God.
something I was always good at. So that came naturally to me, and I
Yeah.
love doing it.
So you do, again, personality, evaluate yourself, check yourself before you wreck yourself. I think that's the saying. Okay, so third edition of your book. Let's talk about this box, Marilu. Third edition of Directors Tell the Story. What do you feel is the encapsulation of the whole book? Like, why would we go out and buy the third edition? Do you
Well,
feel?
I tell you,
Who's your
it
target audience?
I've been told 10 times by producers, by directors who use a book, it's a handbook.
Mm.
It's not a, a fun story about directing. It's how do you do this? Here is the practical stuff you need to know. And people literally send me pictures of their dog-eared, post-it sticking out of it, copies of their book. And I cannot tell you how many producers or writers go or actors say, "Oh, I saw somebody on set with your book." So
Oh,
it's really used in the industry. It is probably considered, well, I mean, I've had articles written, one of the 10 most respected books, and in particularly about episodic directing, it is considered the foremost handbook on the subject. So in terms of it being, and I'm not saying that we know everything,
yeah.
but we wrote it with that. What do you need to know? If you do this, it is a way modeled on Bethany's and my extensive careers of what we think will work. So
Right.
try it. Not,
Yeah.
does it work for you? You can, but it's the way
You
we
can.
teach together too. So yeah,
It
and
looks
in terms of the
incredible.
it won't be out till 2025. I think we're handing it in September, and it will have, for any new edition, because this is the second audition already. The third edition, always has updated material, updated information.
Right.
It's for a new edition of a textbook like this. It's usually 20% different than the last one,
Oh,
and a
good.
lot of it will be a huge amount of post production. I just had a great conversation with a wonderful director who allowed me to shadow him when I was moving from sitcoms. His name is Chris Fisher, fabulous guy. And he is the producing director and one of the EPs on Strange New Worlds, one of the Star Treks. So
Yeah.
he's writing a lot about the volume, which is, a video wall that encompasses, you know, 3D, and so actors are acting in front of a movie, basically. So it's very real. It's, John Favreau used it quite a bit. It's a very, very amazing and economical tool if you know how to use it. So for people who
Yes.
are creating other worlds, it's the way to go.
Didn't he also do Albert? He's a Star Trek, Star Wars fanatic. He watches but I think that's Seth MacFarlane. What is that sci-fi show that Seth MacFarlane was doing? What is it called? The Orville.
Space,
Yes, I think John
the
Favreau invited does that too, directs it or produces it. So if he's attached, it's going to be good. I've been following his career a long time, and I would watch anything that he actually is in, writes, produce, direct. I don't care what he's doing. I'm all over him.
yeah.
He's talented. Now, you do advocacy work with the DGA. I don't know what the DGI is. I know DGA is Directors Guild, for those of you.
The DDI, the DGA stands for the um, Directors Initiative.
Oh,
So it's basically our dedication to making sure that there's diversity, and we are bringing up the next generation of storytellers and
okay.
making sure
When you
that they
say
have
diversity, what does that
input
include?
within.
What does that
Well, that
include?
means like within the DGA, they get education, they get a one-on-one mentorship. I just was told who my mentor is going to be for the third time I'm doing this for them. Bethany and I have taught classes for them for since the very beginning. Um, it's a support group, and they go and they support each other in terms of what do you know, who do you know, and I have to say they become like a little posse that help each
Ah,
other with knowledge. Oh, I just got this age, and hey, they might be looking for someone. I do drama, but they might be looking for somebody in comedy, or so it's it's uh it's a very, very supportive group. So
yeah.
listen to us.
I think I'm coming back, Mary Lou. I think this is my time for a fluffy, extremely fluffy person in a power chair. I think my time's here. I'm gonna get registered as a background actor because now I see all of this.
This was the last page of the Emmy magazine from the
Oh,
foundation. This was a great article,
okay.
and Karen Horn, who's pictured right, I did, right there. She's in the pink,
In the pink.
in the yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
wonder if
She's
we're related.
a lot of people, but it's there now a disability committee at the DGA. So we're taking. I have two things in development, two leads in shows who are disabled. So I am the film I have uh, on the film fest circuit right now that I produced, mentoring a young director named Regina Ainsworth, who's a very talented young woman. Um, is about two neurodiverse characters. So people are finally valuing sometimes the universality, but at the same time vive la différence. And if someone's in a wheelchair, or,
Howard
also,
Stern.
I don't know if you've listened to it yet. What's it called? I want to say Smelly. It might not be it. Christine Applegate has a new podcast that's absolutely worth listening to. I think it might be called Messy, like
Oh,
MS, MESSY, though. It's a great podcast. Highly
really?
recommend it. And I'm going to recommend another one that, because I was going to say this little, you said attributes that directors need. I don't waste a worry. And I heard that phrase. It's not mine. I listened to a Julia Louis-Dreyfus, from Seinfeld,
Yeah,
and Veep, brilliant actress.
I love her.
I listened to all of this podcast, and it's called Wiser Than Me, and she interviews all sorts of women who are older and wiser, and in very, very different forms: politicians, designers, a couple actresses, novelists, and it's a great. But one of the guests was explaining that her secret to happiness was not wasting a worry, and I went, "Oh, I'm stealing that."
Mm.
Lifeblood.
Yes. Well, you doing all of the advocacy work. AWD, what is that? Americans with
That's the Alliance of Women Directors,
oh,
and they do a huge, huge amount. That woman that was in that disability article, Karen Horn, used to run it for NBC, the NBC, and she uh, NBC teamed up with Alliance of Women Directors, giving a lot of young women their start. And it's just a great group that concentrates on making sure women storytellers are out there. When I finished my teaching gig at USC, more than 51% of the graduates in the directing and producing program were women. And the representation at that time in the industry was like probably 5%, if that. It
wow.
might have been 2%. And if I had stopped directing, the statistics would have dropped even lower. So uh, it's lovely to see that, especially in television, especially with the wake of streaming and so many opportunities, prior to the pandemic and prior to the strikes, that so many new directors were getting their shot, and proving themselves and being very successful and being asked back on many of the shows they were doing. So I am Alliance of Women Directors. Vital has the same kind of message. Women in Film has a more international uh, uh, and less of a hands-on teaching um, uh, avenue. But but it's been nationally and internationally recognized for so many years as an advocacy group for women. So I I dedicate a lot of my work to that. So
I'm so glad you
and
brought
I have
that
a
up.
lot of keys.
I'm glad you brought that up about how you were teaching in the whole school element, because when I first came here in 1992, I went to UCLA in the extension program, and it was for directors. And I had to do the film director because I wanted to initially. I don't think I ever told you that, but I wanted to be a sitcom director. But here's what I was told on the first day. I was one of four females and I was very young then. I just graduated college and I just came to do the extension program. And I won't mention his name, but he said he was an actor, but he was also teaching at UCLA in this film extension program. And he said, "Let me just tell you now, if you are a female in this class, you might as well take the W, because female directors are only going to direct rom-coms. If you're in this class because you think you're going to be an action director or you're going to do blockbuster films," he basically, that's exactly what he said. was so discouraging. And I said, oh, well, what about sitcoms? He said, maybe if you're lucky, but we're looking at maybe 25, 35 years. And it was so depressing. So I finished, I got my certificate, but I thought, oh, well, and I let him get into my head. And now and then I see Mimi, I can't remember her name, but she did that blockbuster film in the 90s. Yes, Mimi Leader came and did that. And I said, wait a minute, this was in 92. And I think that was like 95 or 96.
And Leslie Lincoln Glatter, who did Homeland. I mean, there's so many big.
Yes. And that's what he said to us. He said we would only get rom-com.
You know what? We proved him wrong.
Yes, we did. Well, yes, you did.
Know, we tried 20 jobs. Maybe we did a rom-com, and they said, "Oh, she knows how to direct." And again, it's a business based on trust and relationships. So once you have that relationship and that trust, you can say, "But what I really want to do is."
Yes, and I'm just so glad that he was so wrong, and I don't know if he's dead or living by now, but I hope that he looks back and says, "Wow, I probably shouldn't have said that to all those young females. I probably discouraged every single one of them in the class."
You know what else I have to say? I gave agency to he was a TA. He was a teaching assistant for my first English class in college. I loved writing. My favorite part about college was writing term papers. I loved everything. I loved writing letters to people. And he got in terms of my confidence as a writer. So and changed my life in not a good way. Now I was pursuing being an actress, so it wasn't going to affect that part of it. But it's only recently that I have gained my confidence back, and more important, my joy of writing. I mean, I finished a novel that is with my agents or my managers right now. A novel, so it's like, and only because Charlie, he would say, he's not home all the week because he teaches in another city. So, like on a Thursday or Friday night, he goes, "Are we gonna eat dinner together?" Because sometimes I completely lost. So now when I'm writing, I set a timer because I can just lose myself in the joy of writing. So, I don't know if the novel's any good. I don't know if it'll ever get published, but the discovery alone of reclaiming my agency as a person who loves to write, and shame on that teacher.
And then I saw him in some sitcoms, and he was terrible. Marilu, I was like, well, you shouldn't have even been teaching.
Yeah. One of my mentors and colleagues once said to me, the difference between being a director and a teacher, a teacher of directing in some cases, he said, a teacher should always reward improvement. He said, a director has a finite job that you have to deliver. You have to deliver a product. Tell a story. It has to be good. But, and he did both. He was also on the faculty at USC in the comedy directing department for a while too. And it's a lovely job. Not everybody it's a different skill set than directing, but when you see people soar. I have a wonderful graduate from the USC. I wrote the curriculum for a class that was basically Saturday Night Live. So it was a directing class, a writing class, an acting class from the theater school, a guest star from the music school, a production class in television, and we all came together and we produced 3 live shows like Saturday Night Live during one semester. It was unheard of. Barnett Kellman, who was the big Murphy Brown director, I said, "But I've never done sketch comedy." And Barnett said, "Oh, you'll figure it out. Just..." So, and I literally, when you respect, you can go to literally cold. I wrote to a colleague who had been a former Saturday Night Live director and then had become a big sitcom director, Beth Miller McCarthy. And I said, "Beth, we don't know each other. I've been doing this a long time. But I've just been asked at USC to teach this class, that's going to mimic the skill set needed to direct Saturday Night Live. I said, what? She wrote me back a 3-page letter on which I based the entire curriculum, and it's still being done. Thank you, Beth Miller McCarthy, and your generosity, and your advocacy, and giving back.
Wow, that's
and
incredible.
one of the directors, Mel Orpin, who graduated and was like one of my star pupils in that, is directing Up a Storm. I recommend her all the time or introduce her to people because she's really good.
Yeah.
And under that pressure was that, like, for example, if we had 10 sketches in the show, for those 10 sketches, we probably read and put on the feet, which means we staged them, watched them, see where the laughs were, saw and evaluated if it was any good. For every 10 sketches that made it, there were probably 30 more that didn't per show.
Wow.
So that means 3 times plus the exercises they did to increase the writers, their skill set, and the actors who were being taught, how to, the sketch comedy part of it. It was amazing how much, and the directors had to move like lightning. And now one of my friends is now one of the Liz Patrick is. I don't know if you've been watching Saturday Night Live this season. Ryan
No.
Gosling was the guest host last week. It's a brilliant show, and she is just expanded the visual concept of that show. It's multi-camera, but she does so much more. There's overhead shots. She just does a fantastic job. So I'm really
I used to watch Saturday Night Live. Of course, everybody watched it growing up when we were little because it was new and fresh. And then I watched it through the 80s and then part of the 90s. And then I left for a long time because I had, I don't know, other things involved. But I have been meaning to go back because I see the trailers and they have such great guests. And I think, what are they doing over there now?
You're doing it right. It is a great show. Listen, there's seasons where you just go, not all the cast is as strong as the others. It's a phenomenally talented cast right now. There's a guy who does a Trump, Austin, and I'm not going to remember. He's got 3 names. He is brilliant. And some of the old people who've been there for years, like Keenan, and you just go, he's perfect. Kate McKinnon, I think Kate's been on recently. I mean, it's just
I don't think I watched it since Amy Poehler.
What? Amy Poehler. I will tell you, it's a great, if you're writing on Saturday Night Live, it's your university.
About
writing a sitcom pilot. It's not a new book, but I just want to, especially since we've been trying to support writers as well, someone who thinks they can write a sitcom. It's written by a woman named Ellen Sandler, who worked on Everybody Loves Raymond. I think she was Emmy nominated for that show. But it's a really good book about writing a comedy pilot. So I'm going to recommend that to your people, because I've written acting and directing books, but I haven't written a writing book. Although the Sitcom Career Book has a lot that writers would, benefit from knowing. So.
Yeah, I got to get back to Saturday Night Live. WIM, what does that stand for?
Women in Media.
Women in Media.
So that is much broader than just directors. So Women in Media was one of the first organizations to have what they call the crew list. So if you wanted to hire a woman, and people would go, oh, well, there's no women who are directors of photography or pulling focus, or, they're not doing those normal things like hair and makeup. I want someone who's a focus puller or a director of photography. Women in Media had the first comprehensive list you could go to, and it's run by a force of nature. You think I have a lot of energy and focus? Tama Steig is a genius, and she works so hard. And they have so many programs, one called Camaraderie, where they get huge camera packages from, like, so you're using the best things that Christopher Nolan's using on movies, like, and they get it for and then it makes things like, the Tribeca Festival or, Sundance. And so it's Women in Media is again a wonderful, and both the Alliance of Women Directors and Women in Media, I think, have entry level um uh
Submissions.
memberships. You're not a full member, and you can't do everything, but it's a great way to getting to know the organization and getting to know. So I would highly recommend those two
Oh,
things.
Women in Media. All right. Now, multicam sitcom intensive. Are these classes? What do they entail? Who can attend? And how does one find out more?
I try to teach them once a year.
Was that the
And
class I took with you?
remember that colleague I said who was like my star pupil at
Yeah.
USC? I think she is going to start teaching a 6-week class that I used to teach based on this book.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I have
so
that.
it would follow that, and then at the end of that, we would do the comedy intensive, which is a find the joke exercises on a Friday night for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then Saturday and Sunday that you're doing multiple scenes, every actor, and if it's a few directors, I don't have a lot of directors, but a few directors who come in, and you will be doing on you will be doing scenes from known sitcoms with 3 cameras, and they're cutting live, so you get to see your work played back already edited.
That's
So
the class that I was in, right? Was that the
yep,
one that I was in with Eve Moon?
yes,
And
multiple times that class, yeah.
are you
So
still doing those? Are you
I
still
did
doing?
it once last fall. It was the first time in about 4 years that I taught it,
Mm.
and I probably, depending on what my directing schedule is next fall, I'll probably try to do it one more time before the end of the year. COVID made it very
Yeah.
tricky because the last thing in the world you want is someone getting sick when they come to
No.
a class. So,
Now,
but
is this
thank you so
for?
much. It's been so
Are
much
they for?
fun.
No, was that now for you? Those classes are. I would imagine those are for master students to take.
If you want to know about no, beginning actors who wanna, and sometimes you don't have to take the whole mastery class, you can just take Friday night.
Okay.
Almost anyone who takes Friday night says, "Do you have any room for Saturday and Sunday?" And I go, "No, but next time." But, because Saturday, Sunday the Friday class is basically what I call the drill and kill class, and you just learn comic timing. It's like if you were a piano player, it's doing scales, but you're
Yeah.
doing it with tiny little micro scenes. Um, so, uh, I have all levels of people. I have some people who have been stand-up comics who have really never acted, but think they wanna try it, come in. The way is to follow me on Facebook. That's where I usually announce, or, Instagram. That's how I announce it. I will sometimes put it on my, on marilubelli.com, but not as often.
Yeah.
It's just
Eve Moon and I've made so many friends from going to that class, to your class, and I'm still friends with them. And who I'm most close to now is Eve Moon. She used to come in to do the directing, right? So she and I were talking. She comes to all my parties, and she said, "Have you heard if Marilu is having another one of those classes?" I'm like, "No, have you heard?" "No." And then she said, "Well, can you ask her?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe you should ask her." So she and I are so I'm going to tell her, excuse me, that we need to go on your Facebook page and announce it. But she said, "Oh, well, you know that her classes, as soon as she announces, she'll be booked completely full within 3 minutes." And I said,
they sell out very quickly. But,
they said,
if you what I always do is keep a running list of people who didn't get in, and if I have your email from that, then I give you a pre-announcement of the next one.
yeah, I'm very upset with, because I was scheduled, booked, and paid for that class, and I got food poisoning from a Greek that souvlaki gyro thing the night before, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going, "Oh God, no, I can do it. I can't miss this class." I live to be next to Marilu. Help me, Jesus, Lord. And sure enough, I couldn't. And I miss it. And that was, I think, the 2019, because the next year was COVID. So I never got to attend that last class. And I'm very sad.
Well,
So I'm going to be on pins and needles if I don't get to at least audit the class. I'm like, please. Please. So I really want it, because your classes are well worth it. So I don't want to advertise it because I'm going to be waiting for it myself. I don't want anybody to take my spot. So the Miss Pat show, we talked about the premise. The network is BET. This is a good question. I took some questions from people. This is from Tony from Camden, New Jersey. And he said, hey, Marilu,
I'm a Jersey girl.
Huh? Oh, you're a Camden girl? Oh, Jersey
I'm not a
girl.
Camden, Jersey.
What part are you from? From New Jersey?
I was born and raised in Clifton, about
Oh
14
my
miles
God.
outside.
We
Go
had
ahead.
the best
Only from
times.
Camden.
Wait a minute. I got to give my Jersey props, because back in the day, the best parties that I would go to was in Red Bank, New Jersey, Egg Harbor, New Jersey. Oh my God, I lived to go to Jersey. I'm from Connecticut. But we would sneak out of the house and we would just take the train and the bus and any way to get to the party in New Jersey. So I don't know what you were doing, but I had a good. Do you live near either of those towns, Red Bank or
Yeah,
Egg
I live
Harbor?
in Los Angeles. And
Jersey.
Clifton and Patterson were in North Jersey, and where I go all the time is Spring Lake, which is not far from Red Bank. Red Bank is one of the stops on the train. I go through Red Bank.
Yeah, I love Red Bank. Okay, so this is from Tony from Camden, New Jersey, and he said, hey, Marilu, what are some of the reasons that a director would be asked to come back to direct multiple times? Who makes those decisions? What factors are involved? Thank you, Tony from Camden, New Jersey.
Tony, you have to get along with the cast. You have to get along with the writers. So, and if one of those is missing, you don't get asked back. You have to deliver a really good episode. I always say, you have to deliver. If doing a sitcom is like making a pizza, you have to deliver a pizza, and it's got to have great toppings. So it's you have to. But I think the most important thing is supporting the cast and having them trust you, and having them, in a lot of cases, say, hey, Marilu was great. We got to have her back. So,
yeah, I think it does have
and
to
at the
do.
same time, you might get along with the writers, and then you might piss off some star, and you just go, I am never coming back on this show. And that's happened to me. I go, oh, that just happened. Okay. This will be my only episode, but that's fine.
I find that hard to believe, but some of the actors are temperamental.
Yeah.
They are. So let's see. I took some questions. Oh, but first, the director and co-executive producer of the Miss Pat show. And then I have Governor TV Academy. So my question is, how do you go from being a director to a co-executive producer on a sitcom? Like, how do you do that? How does that happen?
Well, they ask you. You basically are doing your job and possibly more. So I'm addressing things like writing. I'm listening to all the notes that come in for writing. And if I weigh in, and then when there's other directors who are being hired, I'm overseeing them, except for Debbie Allen, who comes in. And then I just go, oh, well, I just go in my office for the week because
go take a nap.
Fine. Debbie doesn't need any help from me, but most of the directors don't need help. But sometimes they don't know. Like, for instance, we might be shooting a wide shot, and they might not know that we have what we call a foreground cutting piece. So there might be a bench or a table that we slide in when we're shooting only those wide shots. And if it can be taken out anytime, we call it, if we do it live in front of the audience, take it out when we're not on that shot. We call it Hollywooding it out. So they might not know that they can just make a prettier shot, and that we have a table that exists exactly for that purpose, and it'll just make it. So, just sharing information like that. Also, sometimes I'm giving them tips about which actors, should be getting notes. And some want to try something before you give them a note. So I had an actress on NCIS New Orleans who said, "Don't give me a note until after my second take." And luckily, no, I knew her work. I knew her work from the series she was on before NCIS, and she was brilliant. And I went, okay, that's part of her process. I'm going to let her have the freedom to find what she needs and respect her process. And on the rare occasion, because I directed that show for a long time, I would say, so and so, I won't tell you who it was. I We're off to the wrong track on this scene, so I just want to give you this note. Is that okay? And she'd go, oh yeah, but probably over, the 7 years I was there for 6 seasons, it was maybe I did it twice total. And I directed her all the time, but that was I respected her process. So
Yeah, everybody's
yeah,
different. And I
yeah.
do see a lot of times actors, they'll start out as actors, and then all of a sudden, a couple years later, you'll see their title as co-executive producer or executive producer. Is that because they've been on the show a long time and they just know everything
No,
about it?
being a co-exec producer means you have more responsibility. So I'm going to all the post-production um sessions for mixing and spotting and I just don't hand in my cut. I make sure that I'm there for other things. I'll weigh in on a musical choice or whatever. So I'm there to help in any way I can, and veer people away from mistakes that they might make that are particular to that show. And sometimes I just watch and shut up, which is
And
also my job.
as opposed to the executive producer, which does
The exec
how is
producer,
it different?
it depends. Sometimes it's the person who discovered Miss Pat. Sometimes it's a person who is paying for the show. Sometimes it's, in the case of Jordan E. Cooper, it's the person who's creating and writing the show and is the head writer showrunner. So EPs have a lot of different.
Yeah,
There's, thank God I'm not an EP. And you ask me what does a producer do? Because the next thing is, well, there's 10 kinds of producers.
exactly.
So,
It's so
and I got.
hard to explain to people who are not in the entertainment industry, like my friends and family members, and they ask me, "So, what does this a producer do?" And then I have to explain, "Well, you could be this, you could be that, you could be this. I'm not an expert, but this is the basic." And they say, "Well, why do they have so many producers? Why do they have all those credits, like thousands of people crawling up on a film screen?" I said, because they have different jobs.
Yeah.
And then that person has, so it's just, it is quite something when you see those films and like Lord of the Rings, what is it, like 2,000, 3,000 people? I mean,
One of the
how?
favorite parts of this book is not the part I wrote. There's a lovely forward by Henry Winkler, but there's a preface by Robert Greenblatt, who was headed NBC, headed Showtime for years, and he writes the most elegant description of the art of what a sitcom is. It holds up to this day. It's one of my favorite parts of the book, and I
Oh,
didn't even write it. So
wow. I
yeah.
just don't, I don't know who, I don't know. And Albert has said this too. He said, Priscilla, how do they get a film done with those thousands and thousands and because there ultimately has to be somebody at the top of the Christmas tree that approves everything. And I thought, how does that person do it? I know you don't really, want to talk about film, but do you have any kind of anything to say
Well, it's
about people? Because how is it that all those people can work and a movie can be made and win an Oscar, like Everything Everywhere? I can't remember, Michelle Yao. I mean, there was like 50,000 people who, Marilu, oversees all of that and comes out with a great production.
Well, the thing is, it's a hierarchy, so there is someone in charge of it all.
Yeah.
Um, and in this case, it might be the Daniels, but in most cases, it's everybody who is in charge of the subset is really good at their job. So when I come in and, if I have a great AD, there's all that stuff I don't need to worry about. It's going to be
Yeah.
scheduled efficiently. Everybody's going to show up on time. They're going to figure out what time they have to go into hair and makeup in order to be ready to come on set. Those people are good at their job. And I would say one of the lovely things about working in television is most of the people you encounter are really good at their job.
Yeah.
And therefore, you empower them to do their best. It just makes you look good. But also, it makes the job easier because it takes the weight off of my shoulders to do their job as well. And I don't want to do their job.
No.
Yeah.
And so I would say in film, the studios ultimately are the people who are responsible for greenlighting that film. So hopefully they have the executive producers and producers that sign off on it know what they're doing, and that's the difference between films winning an Oscar and those costing 150 million, and people go, what the hell just happened? I don't know what happened. And that does happen. So I think it's the executive producers, to answer that question, Sylvia, that it's the executive producers and the producers, right? And the studio, because if it's a big studio. All right, joining the TV Academy, Marilu. I imagine that this was one of the greatest achievements of your career. You've had so many, but I'm going to just throw it in. For those that are not familiar with the TV Academy, can you tell them what it is and what is your role?
Okay, so it's an association of people who work in television.
Yeah.
You don't get to be a member unless you have certain credentials and you've done a certain job in the industry for a certain amount of episodes over a certain amount of years. I became a governor of the Academy, and one of the steps to that was being on what they call peer groups. So for many years, I would get together with multiple times a year, sometimes once a month, with the other directors, and there can be, anywhere between 8 and 10 people who are fellow directors, and we decide the agenda of what we want to do to service other directors. It might be having a mixer, it might be teaching a class, it might be making a ruling about who gets to be eligible for and advising. So once you've been on the PGEC, which is the
Producers Guild, right?
Yeah, no, it's
never remember.
no, it's in terms of the group of only directors. If you've done service there, then you can be eligible to become a governor, and then that's elected by only the directors. So I'm serving my first term as a governor, and I probably will try to run again because I love doing this job. And it has nothing to do with Emmy nomination, anything like that. This is my way of giving back. And then in addition to that, and I'm not involved except sometimes I volunteer. There's also the TV Academy. These are the people who produce the Emmys, and all the For Your Consideration events. They also I forget what I was going to say. It'll come back. But the TV Academy does a lot of giving back. So, I know what I was going to say. The foundation has a scholarship program, an internship program, and I've judged stuff like that before and tried to be supportive to people who are sometimes academics. I started my first membership in the Academy was as a teacher at USC. And my membership as an academic was cheaper than a full-time active membership, even though I might have qualified.
Oh yeah, they're pricey. I want to ask you something. You just keep triggering thoughts that are off topic.
I just want to say one more thing about being a member. You don't have to be asked to join. If you want to be a member of the TV Academy, you should just go on, become a member.emmy, and it'll probably or just Google those 3 words or 4 words. And you'll see if those be very specific about the qualifications. And most A lot of people go, well, I probably don't qualify. And people go, oh, I do qualify. So
you just triggered a thought. Okay. I threw a Grammy party in 2019, December 27th, at Jamie Foxx's house for Amy. I won't say her last name, but she was up for her 6th Grammy for world music. She's based out of Hawaii. And so we're at Jamie Foxx's house, and I'm looking at his thing. I'm going, oh my God, Jamie. So anyway, he was talking to us about, and I brought my friend Ernest Thomas. Now, you being a sitcom aficionado, my friend Ernest Thomas, do you remember him? He was Raj back in 1976 on the hit sitcom What's Happening. Remember What's Happening? Okay. Yeah. And then he played Mr. Omar on Everybody Hates Chris. He's the one came up with that. Well, he didn't come up with it, but he goes, tragic. So that's kind of been his name now. So Ernest, I brought Ernest with me to Jamie Foxx's house because I knew Jamie was Ernest was his idol. So we're in Jamie's kitchen and we're talking about different things, and somebody, not my friend, but somebody said, well, everybody that's nominated for Grammys, don't you have to pay for your Grammy and your Oscar and your Tony and your everything else? Isn't it you get those from paying off someone? And of course Jamie's like, I'm like, oh, I know Jamie, he's going to put him out real quick. And I thought, oh, I'm glad. But anyway, so to clear this up, there is no paid, no, what is that called? Payola, or to get Grammys and Emmys and Oscars and things. They're nominated genuinely, truly by whom? So can you clear that up?
You are, except for best shows, they're nominated by the people within the group who are voting for. A director will vote for a director, cinematographer will vote for a cinematographer, a hair and makeup person will vote for a hair and makeup department. So it's your colleagues who are voting for you. And and then they ask you, and I don't know if we had this anymore last year, but they ask you to sign an affidavit, say, I saw these episodes. So you basically,
and I'm not accepting any money.
Oh no, yeah, there's no.
That includes that in that paper you're talking about, in that affidavit, it includes that you will not accept any money. So just to let you know, correct, Marilu? I'm correct about that?
Yes. You're not being paid.
No,
in any way, shape, or form. Voting for your colleagues.
Yes. So people nominate people for Grammys and Oscars and Tonys and Emmys based on their work. They're people of, like, you sit on a board, right? You nominate and vote for other actors, correct?
My nomination doesn't mean anything more than any other member. And then the person who gets the most nominations, they whittle it down to who got the most nominations. And then, they go, we're going to nominate 6 people in this category. And then that's how it goes, or 5 people in this category.
There you go, people. If Marilu says it's right, it's right. If Jamie says it's right, it's right. So don't be sending me any more questions about that. I don't know why people every time they find out. Oh, so my friend Michael Orland is coming on the show next week. He was on American Idol. He was the musical director for the whole 16 seasons. And Michael said to me, Priscilla, don't you ask me that question again. I said, but they keep sending me. I said, were they? Because I don't know if you watch American Idol, but there was the whole Adam Lambert controversy that this other person should have won. And then there was the whole thing about, the director, the producer, executive producer were paid to choose this person. And there's so much around that. And I said, Michael, I promise I'm not going to ask that question because Marilu's going to clear it up on the show before you.
Well, also what you do is you make them go to the archive when Michael, answered it the first time, or say, you answered it on this episode. Go to the archive.
Yeah.
There's brand new information that we should talk about.
Thank you, Marilu. It has cleared it up. Okay, Albert, let's play a clip from this is your sizzle reel that we're about to see, right? So this encompasses clips from all the shows.
My sizzle reels, I have many of them on my website. If you go to marilubelli.com, I think this is only my drama or action sizzle reel.
Okay, so we're about to see Marilu Belli's sizzle reel for her action drama. And when we come back, we're going to end the show by answering some questions that came in upon her announcement on my social media pages. And she has kindly agreed to answer your questions. So people, don't worry. I'm getting to them. All right, Albert, can we hit it?
Is we got to figure out what's going on before things escalate.
Salvatore Stallions! Let's ride! Yo! Jet! Caleb, get the kids to the bus. Nice job, little man.
It's all yours. Just do your thing.
Get out!
Come on, nice and slow.
You all right?
Ethan, get down.
You gotta stop firing. Hey, start to hell.
One head coming up.
The lead actress's name, Rose. What was her name? The lead.
And you talk about the quad, Anika Noni Rose. Was
No.
the lead on Quad.
No, no. I was talking about the spinoff show with the supernatural
Oh, yes, Legacies.
legacies. Yeah, she was Australian, I believe, right? She was an Australian
Yeah, it was
actor,
a
right?
fun. That was the first season finale
I
of that
was
show.
so upset when that show went off the air. I could not take it. But I really think they did a great job with the development of the characters over the years. And I was so sad at the ending. Oh, but I haven't seen her in anything. I guess she's taken a break. My God, I can't imagine being a lead actress on a show like that. So action oriented. But I was also upset with the originals when that went off. Did you ever do anything on the
No,
vampire?
Bethany Rooney was a producing director on the originals for many seasons.
Oh God. Oh, I love that show. See, those are the types of shows I like. And I have been forced, Marilu, to go to streaming. I am now watching only exclusively shows on Acorn and BritBox, and because I like foreign shows. And you can find some phenomenal dramas. Like there's a German show called Luna and Sophie. Oh, so incredible. And then there's shows from Norway, and of course you can't go wrong with a British show. I like British comedy. Like I love that. This is Irish. Have you ever watched the Dairy Girls?
The Dairy Girls, yeah.
Oh my God, that was my jam. And did you ever watch the Miss what was it's a Irish show, a gentleman dress, Miss Brown's Boys? Miss
No, I
Brown.
don't know.
Oh, you would love that. That's another case of breaking the fourth wall. I swear I do not have tears. I'm not a hearty laugher, but when I watched this, I had tears rolling out of my eyes. I would advise you to check that out.
Great, thank you.
My God, so impressive. I can't believe that. And I remember watching Legacies, and I remember those episodes, and I remember possibly seeing that you were directing them, but it's been so long ago, and I'm gonna have to watch it all over again as a tribute to you, Marilu. All right, let's.
So you have some questions before we wrap up.
Yes, we are running out of time, so let's get these questions going. All right. Now, I might have to take my glasses off because I wrote it. All right, this is from Pamela from New Orange. Oh, God, another New Jersey person, New Orange, New Jersey. She said, hey, Marilu, how did you first become interested in directing in the entertainment industry as opposed to you choosing to work in a career outside of the entertainment business?
Well, the only thing I considered outside the entertainment business, at least when I was at high school, in terms of what am I going to major in college, it was always going to be show business. But I also considered going to culinary school. So I decided against that. And then when I switched from being a comedy director to an action director, I did say, or from wanting to act to direct, I looked at taking the LSATs and possibly going to law school, getting a degree in psychology, or just staying in show business and doing another job because I knew I didn't want to act anymore or sing or dance. So but it's been show business has been my passion for, since I was a kid.
Always. Okay. Marilu. Oh, this is from Lyle from Vermont. Marilu, was there a certain person who you admired seeing perform in theater, film, or the TV industry that inspired you to choose your current career? Thank you, Lyle. Mm-hmm.
There was a Broadway show that Whoopi Goldberg did where she had the audience in the palm of her hand. And what she did was she would keep them laughing. And then Whoopi always had a lot of pithy endings, meaningful point that she wanted to make at the end of a sketch. And she would disarm you with the laughter and then go in for your jugular. And I have to say that lesson, by learning how to do that with such skill, was something I use a lot in my drama directing, where I'll try to find the humor in a scene, and then so that there's an element of surprise when I go in for a big dramatic moment. And comedy is, there's always the element of surprise
Yeah,
that's always in comedy. So
you have to.
it's also really how to analyze a script.
It is. This is from Tina from Kansas, and she said, Miss Marilu, what inspires you creatively when directing various sitcom projects?
Something that is universal, that makes us take a look at ourselves and find the humor in our foibles, in our humanity. So there has to be a truth to it, but at the same time, I'm one that will still laugh at a pratfall or something physical, good physical comedy. And you just have to have people like a David Hyde Pierce who know how to execute that sort of stuff.
God,
I
don't
know.
start that. I know. See, now you've motivated me again. Here I go. I'm back to it. As soon as we get off of this show, I am watching it again. Okay, this is from Rita from an international Oslo, Norway.
In there.
She just said Mary. It's Mary Lou. Mary, can you please describe your creative process and how it has evolved over time? How could you answer that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and it's when I teach, the rookie mistakes you make where you talk too much. And my job as a facilitator, as a director working with actors specifically, is to give them just a gem of an idea and let them run with it. So once I see, and this is what I teach, if a director gets at that, shakes their head yes, or you see that little glint in their eye once you've given them a direction, and I literally will shut up in the middle of the sentence and go, okay, let's try it. So over talking is the worst thing you can do, and I talk less now.
Okay. Thank you for that, Rita from Oslo, Norway. I want more international questions. Okay, this is from Peter from San Diego, and he said, what was the most challenging process you experienced as a director, and how did you overcome obstacles? Wow, that's going to be a tough one because
I think you might think it was being a woman in the business when they weren't hiring women, but I just sort of ignored the fact that I was a woman. So that wasn't it. I would say it was being confident that I knew what I knew and never being afraid of asking for help when I needed it.
I like that. This is
And
from...
with respect, they will help you. And then you learn from them. If you treat people with respect and honor their contribution, they are more than willing. So there are people I've worked with who have been my teachers.
Yeah, of course. And this is from, oh God, I can't read my own writing here. Bruce from New Hampshire. Yes, Bruce from New Hampshire. And he said, Mrs. Marilu, what is your proudest career accomplishment? Oh, Mrs. Marilu.
I would say being able to direct steadily in both drama and comedy.
Oh yeah, because doctors usually.
I'm a unicorn, guys.
Yeah, because do you feel that most directors, I don't want to say get stuck, but are tasked with jobs in just sitcom because the powers that be don't see them as dramatic directors?
You know,
Females.
I was no, it happens to males too.
Okay.
People pigeonhole you. You get good at something, and that's the only thing they want to. They want to say, "Stay in your lane." And I always thought, nah.
Yeah, sort of like typecasting or stereo cat. You see some actors, they just get cast in the same roles over and over and over again. They're very good, and they are exceedingly good in those roles, so they just keep getting cast over and over. So Yeah, that's a shame. I don't like to see that because, for example, I'm gonna just expand on that 1 second because I am a huge fan of Jim Carrey. Yes, he is phenomenal at comedy, but I get very sad and upset when people don't give him his credit for. I thought he did an excellent job in The Spotless Mind. Was it The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? I thought he did
Brilliant.
a great job. So you agree with me? Oh, that's so important that
He's a
you
great
agree.
actor. Period.
Yeah, and then
And
when
listen,
he did,
there's a
yeah,
saying in the business, dying is easy, comedy is hard. So
yeah.
he's already tackled the hard part, you know? And if, for people who really want to be good at the dramatic stuff, all they have to do is apply themselves and hopefully have a little bit of talent. But Jim Carrey is the whole
Yeah, I
package.
don't know why he's not doing more drama. As a matter of fact, I don't know what happened to him. A friend of mine does a podcast with Jeannie McCarthy on Sirius, and I just didn't feel. I felt it was tacky to ask what happened to Jim. What happened to Jim Carrey? I'm not going to say that, but I just wonder why he's not doing more drama because I thought he did a great job in that. And then what was that other one he did? It was a drama where someone died. I want to say True Lies, but it wasn't True Lies. It was something there. I remember they used the Paramount Studios cloud background as the backdrop, and you thought he was in the clouds, and then they took it away, and it was just him at the top of the steps. I can't remember what it was, but overall, in general, he is a phenomenal dramatic actor, and I wish we could see more of him. So I just threw that in. Okay, this is from Sylvia from Baltimore. What was it?
Was it about Truman?
Truman, thank you. Yes, that's the one. I don't know why I'm like True Lies. No, that's Arnold. Yeah, he was very good in that, I thought. Yeah, and that was drama, but there was a little comedy, but for the most part, I think it was a drama. But now I can't remember. Maybe it's another one he was in. Okay, this is from Sylvia from Baltimore, Maryland, and she said, Miss Marilu, yeah, you must. A lot of people are addressing you as Miss Marilu, and I'm wondering if it's because you got that cute look of being like a Southern.
I think it's regional. I think it's regional in what you taught you to talk when you speak to people.
Oh yeah, because they do. Oh my God, I can't believe you saw that. You saw that because I know in Baltimore, because I went to college in Towson State in Maryland, and they do say Miss Sylvia, Miss Linda, oh my God, you nailed that. See how you're so bright. Okay, Miss Marilu, can you please describe a project that required you to take an extremely creative risk that made you so scared you thought you were going to change your mind at the last minute? Just take your time.
No, I don't have to. As an episodic director, there are certain things I can do, and there's certain things that are just not okay. So my job is to study a show and deliver the best episode of that show that I can. So there's certain risks I will take, but I'm not, doing a oneer, but that's not, and just saying that this is my vision for this scene. But, I will very often, just to give the producers options, I will do a oneer and then do coverage as well, which means I'm going to cover not just the one shot I think that could tell the whole scene, but I will then go in for close-ups and stuff like that. But, I'm, no, taking too big a risk is stupidity.
Yeah. You don't want to go crazy.
I've worked my whole career because I am reliable and I like that I'm a good storyteller. So
yeah. And I don't know how much leverage they give. They probably give you more leverage because you're a very experienced director, but I wouldn't recommend that as a first-time director coming in on a sitcom. I would say no, don't do that. Right, Marilu? Don't do it. Okay, this question is from Jonathan from Marin County. Marin County. I think that's California north. Yeah,
north of San Francisco.
And Jonathan says, Um, hey Marilu, what is going to be the biggest what is going to be the biggest challenge about what is the biggest challenge? He didn't write that right. Okay, what is the biggest challenge about bringing a script to life?
Well, there's some things that require a lot of departments doing excellent work at the same time, like a big action sequence where I might have special effects, lighting somebody on fire. And, I'm staging it. I'm, building a set that's going to be safe. So there's, a big action sequence is always a challenge. And especially because my number one job is to make sure everybody stays safe.
Oh yeah, you have to think about that, don't you? As a director, that's part of your job. Wow, you have so many things you've got to think about.
And
Well,
yeah. And in an
not
intimate scene, making sure that the actors feel safe if they're doing intimacy. So,
mm,
that's making sure that I've
post-COVID.
customary.
Post, I'm sorry, we keep overlapping. We have a drop. Post-COVID, this is a question just popped into my mind about intimacy scenes. Are they still writing as many intimate scenes in a sitcom and a drama as they did before, or less? Or
I think
you
I
didn't
think if
know?
it's the story of the show, there's just as many. I don't think
Yeah.
I think at the height of COVID, some people just didn't want to kiss. It was just,
Yeah, the
um,
kissing. Oh, yeah.
since since, we were very, very careful, and we let not only our industry, but many industries, saw that we set up protocols that were safe and kept people working. So we set a great example for that. So, and then we didn't abandon those, not abandon. Once we thought it was safe for people to do things like again, we we modified the protocol. So, it's very smart, and
I
we had
think so.
leaders, Steven Soderbergh being one of them, who led
Okay.
much of it.
Okay, a couple more questions. This is from Prudence from Kenner, Louisiana. And she said, Miss Mary, another miss. You are so right about that. I can't get over how you knew that. Miss Mary Lou, what project are you most proud of in your entire career so far, and why?
You know, I can't answer that because it's like saying,
Uh,
"Do you have a favorite child?" I love both of my children. They're very different in many ways, and I love them both, you know, beyond
you love
measure.
them all. Yes, I can't say I know. I agree. Okay, this is
Excellent
from
fault with them.
Yeah, because you've done so much. I mean, you would really have to think about that. That's just an intense
You know,
question.
I said earlier, there's ones that have been more fun because the crew was kind, the leadership from above just made a priority to, it was excuse my language, a no asshole zone. And if you were an asshole, you didn't stay on that show. So
Uh,
excuse my
and do you
language.
have that a lot in sitcoms? I mean, these
Oh,
days, I don't think so, huh?
wow. People are very well behaved most of the time.
Hmm.
And if they
Okay.
aren't, you just want to look at why are they behaving badly? And very often it's not because they're insecure or they're fearful. And you just have to then, address the fear, address the motivation of why they're acting badly. And then they usually don't act badly anymore.
Yeah. Do you have you ever talked to? This is my question. Have you ever talked to older directors and producers that used to direct things from, say, the 40s, 50s, 60s, and they had to deal with extremely temperamental actors or directors, or just say actors, directors, and do they tell stories about how it's changed so much for the better now because the studios are not accepting that behavior?
They don't. And thank God for HR departments. John Badham, a wonderful director, has a book called, I think, I'll Be in My Trailer. So there's stories, but bad. Listen, I saw when I first came up, I saw some very bad behavior. I saw a director throw a chair into a set, a live set we were using, and I went, "What the heck was that?" So or yell at a child,
Oh,
bringing them to tears. And I went, "Oh gosh, that's not necessary." But that sort of behavior isn't tolerated anymore. And if people do it, they get fired. And that's a good thing.
yes, that is a good
Yeah.
thing. There'd be some weaves being pulled out. I would definitely have to defend myself if they were attacking me. But you never know. You heard some crazy stories, but I don't think that behavior is accepted or tolerated. So thank God. All right. This is from Bryce. Oh, I love that name, Bryce. Bryce from Montana. And he said, hey, Marilu, what strategy do you employ for building? We have some intelligent ass people here writing these questions. I was just thinking about, wow, they sound so structured and organized. What strategy do you employ for building an efficient work team as far as the relationship between the cast and crew? What does that mean?
First of all, in television, I'm rarely choosing the people I work with.
Ah,
I'm the person coming in. I might, as a producing director, suggest other directors, and in that case, I take into consideration their personality, and do I think they'll get along with the star of the show and the cast of our show? I recommended Raven Simone for Miss Pat this season, and she came in and she knocked it out of the park. She was fabulous.
oh, I love it.
So there was, but I had worked with, I had seen her interact with the actors on her show because I had directed her show, Raven's Home, and when I was a young director, I remember being invited to observe, the original Ravens, her original show. So it's you just treat people with respect.
That seems to be her motto. Okay, coming down to the last question. All right, this is from Lori from New Mexico, and she says, "What did you do to motivate? What did or do? What do I'm going to just say do? What do you do to motivate your cast and crew on your projects?" Oh, I see. What did you do to motivate your cast and crew on your previous projects that built your much respected career and reputation of today? Well, she just said one, treat people with respect. Lori from New Mexico.
And then value their expertise. Now, ultimately, someone who's an expert is going to suggest something. I'm the arbitrator of listening to that and deciding if I want to use it. But always listen respectfully. And if it's a good idea, steal it. And if it's a really good idea, credit the person who suggested that to you. So getting the best work out of people who work underneath you. It's the secret to success.
It's common sense, people.
All right, it's that exclusive to show business. I think that's a way of living a life.
Exactly. This is from Kevin from Arizona. He said, Marilu, do you still practice those techniques? What techniques? Okay. Do you still practice those techniques and have built on them, or have employed a whole new set of motivational practices? I don't know what techniques you're talking about, Kevin from Arizona, but anything we can do with that, or should we skip that?
Well, I can just tell you, I remember in 6th grade, I had a teacher who I think was my writing teacher. And the way she wanted to approach having an idea for a story was she outlined a 6-pointed problem-solving process. Identify the problem, brainstorm on solutions, evaluate the solutions, choose a solution, act on it, and then evaluate whether it worked. That was a game changer for me in writing, in life, and I still use it intuitively every day.
I love that. That's words to live by. All of them so far. This is from Connor from Cincinnati, Ohio. Miss Marilu, what do you do to stay what do you do to stay calm when a project is not going as planned?
Well, I know that chaos is my enemy.
Oh yeah.
So I breathe. I remember walking away, saying to my AD, "Give me a second," and I had to walk away, because I thought I might lose my temper. And then I came back and I looked at the AD. I said, "I'm fine again. Let's go on." So sometimes if you need to step away, you need to step away.
That's true.
What you don't do is behave badly.
That's right. You don't want to behave badly. This is from, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Okay. Susan from Boston. What are 3 criteria for being a good director? Did we talk about that earlier?
We did. I said empathy, kindness, leadership. Those 3 kind of stand out. And most important, being a good storyteller.
That's important. Okay, this is from Gus from Watertown, New York. I had a good time there in the 80s. Marilu, if you're not sure if you want to be a director, you think you might, but you're not completely sure, what are some clues, both internal and external, that might help you really help
Listen,
you? Okay.
Directors direct. This tool is the most important thing for directors coming up today. You can make a movie on your phone.
Yes.
So try it. See if you like it. See if it turns you on, and you'll know. And keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be wrong, and it doesn't have to be something you write yourself. It can be something someone else wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't have the skill set for everything that's needed, one of the things is getting along with people. Enlist other people to help you. If you're a high school student and it's an audiovisual club, find someone who wants to edit, someone who wants to hold a boom and do sound. There's people who want to do. A lot of people want to be in show business, and when they know that every job is valuable, then it makes a difference.
Yeah, and you could just do like a 5-minute. Just start out little with like a 5-minute.
3 minutes. I did a 3-minute movie.
Oh, you did a 3-minute movie?
A 3-minute thriller.
Oh my God. Well, I always had an idea for this really cool little short, and I haven't done it yet. But, because I'm a fluffy individual, I thought, what if I went into.
Oh, don't give it away.
So I thought, tell me
Don't
if you
give it
think.
away. Do it.
No, but I want your opinion. Okay, so what if I went into an elevator, right? And there were people on the elevator, and everybody's eyes kept cutting to that sign that says 2,000-pound capacity. So what if every time I got on the elevator, everybody's eyes kept cutting? And then I won't tell you the rest of it. But I thought, well, I could probably do that as a 5-minute short. And I think I could make that funny, because people laugh their ass off at any kind of fat jokes. And I love that we are in the DEI world right now, because I personally, as a large person, the only jokes that I really find funny are when, the old Eddie Murphy, the old Richard Pryor, when they were talking about, the fat white woman, and she came in, and that for some reason just cracks me up. And I really think that there's still material. But what has happened, I see, is that people have become so PC, they don't want to write things about that. They don't want to do that sort of comedy, and they don't want to. But I still like it. And I think, well, would that really upset an audience if I did that, even though it's me? It's so
Go do it.
hard.
I'm going to suggest something to you. Don't try to do it in a real elevator. Shooting in a real elevator is not easy. Try to find a set that's an elevator, because you can take off half of it and get better angles and light it better. So
Yeah. But do you think that would be in this world?
It's a great idea.
PC.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so they won't go. She make it, because I'm a fat person, so it's not like I'm making fun of fat people. I'm there. I'm gonna be the star coming in on my power chair. So there you go. So you think I should do it?
I do.
Marilu said, all right. We're winding it down. Oh, did we do Gus from Watertown? We did. Lily from Oregon. Oh, did we do that? We did the past or present. Who are you? Oh, no, we didn't do that. Past or present, who were / are your favorite theater, film, and TV directors and why? Now that, I don't know. Go ahead, Marilu. Like, I love everything Norman Lear.
Yeah, I'm going to say, but Norman didn't direct. Norman wrote. I would say Sidney Pollack for a film director.
Yeah. I have a friend, her name's Maddie Crothers. You might know her, but she was the assistant for Norman Lear for decades, all through, do you know Maddie? She worked for Norman, Maddie Crothers. Okay. But yeah, she just said that he should have actually been an actor, a star of a sitcom. That's how funny he was. And I would imagine Norman Lear would have to have been funny because he couldn't write that stuff, right? You met him. You met him. So did you find him funny?
He was very funny. Yeah.
That's good. All right. Let's see. Last one from, another Peter. Peter from Ohio. What are this is a good question because I was going to ask you this myself. What are at least 3 do's and don'ts of pursuing a career as a director and as an actor? Also about on the set etiquette. Yes, I would love to know those too. So you don't have to do 3, whatever.
No. You know what, guys?
On the set. Get your book.
Those questions. I will tell you one actor thing is don't apologize and commit to your choices. So that's an actor. As a director, a don't is never yell and do be kind. So I'll just leave it there.
And I'm going to throw one in there on set because I throw this in periodically on the set etiquette. Please do not participate in gossip. There is not a time when I was working. That is a great thing. Yes, because of course, I have tons of friends who are casting directors and A-list casting directors, and their assistants end up becoming A-list casting directors. And I remember, because I love doing background acting. I can't, as you know, I can't remember lines. So I can do one word, maybe a sentence if I take a lot of vitamins, but I've never had an interest in being like doing monologues or soliloquies or anything. But when I was doing background acting, which I love more than anything, I would be sitting there and there would be actors waiting to be seen by the casting director right in front of the casting assistant, and they would be talking about, I was just working on a set with, I won't say her name, but she had so many freckles and, she was a bitch. And I thought, what are you doing? That casting assistant can hear you and they're going to go in and tell the casting director and they are going to not cast you, ask you to leave. Something's going to happen. And sure enough, every single time it happened. But that is my thing. Please don't participate in gossip with the other actors. Am I right, Marilu?
Absolutely.
They will still do it, though. They still do it. I don't know why.
The fools do. The wise ones don't.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, last question. And I am going to go get a Dr. Pepper Cherry Coke. All right. Miss Marilu, this is from Karen from Pennsylvania. Oh, it doesn't say where. Okay, Karen. Okay. What tips, advice, and she must have copied. She watches my show every week because I always say my show is about giving tips, advice, and resource information. So you copied that, but it's okay. Marilu can handle it. Okay. What tips, advice, and resource information would you give to both the aspiring actor and director for pursuing a career in their respective fields?
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Sorry. That's all right.
Watch TV.
Yeah.
It is the
so
best. It's the best. It's your free teacher.
Yeah, it's true. If you want to be a sitcom actor, watch sitcoms. You want to be a film actor, I mean, that's part of the study and the process. But what's more important than watching is reading. And we want to read all Mary Lou's books, right? Do you have all of them there? Can we see the covers one last time? The Last Hurrah. Yes, 1, 2, 3. I don't have that one. 4. Yes, that's
This one
more
is
important. I don't have that
about-
one.
This one's all about career building. It's not
Oh,
about craft. It's about career. It's very
oh,
smart. And I was the
okay.
editor on it, and lots of generous people contributed to it. This has been so
And
much fun.
If they go to your website, mariloubelli.com, you have all of those books on there. Would you recommend them purchasing them right from your website or going to
Yeah,
Amazon?
I would go to Amazon, and I will say again, watch my Facebook page, because the two that are from Focal Press, this one and this one,
Yeah.
they do regular sales. So
Oh.
I will pass on the information about 20% off is sizable.
Oh, okay. All right. Or and when you say Facebook page, you're talking about your main profile page, Marilu Belli, because I think you have. And what about Instagram? You're on Instagram as Marilu Belli. Let me make sure I finalize this. Marilu, you have the website mariloubelli.com, and your social media are you only on Facebook and Instagram under
Yes.
your name? Okay.
Yes.
And what about Instagram? Do you ever put some sales on IG? Because a lot of people aren't on Facebook. They're exclusively on Instagram, which I don't understand, but it's a lot of actors.
Yeah.
You do
I
it
do
on
both.
Instagram? Okay. All right, Marilu, thank you. Now you can go and take a little nippy nap, and apologize to Charlie for me taking up your time when you could have been like giving them toe massages or something kinky over there. Thank you so much for being on the show, Marilu.
It was my
Appreciate
Thank you so much,
it.
Priscilla.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me here. The people who, watch and listen. She's a wealth of information and a good person. So
Yeah, and I'm going to watch the Miss Pat show. You've got another watcher. There you go. And a
Right.
subscriber. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much.
You're listening to Question Reality with Priscilla Leona.